Hi, friends. Do you ever misplace your glasses? You just look for them everywhere and you cannot find them. So you borrow your husband's glasses? No? Well, my glasses frames look different today because I need to be able to read and I need my glasses to read, but I just can't find my frames anywhere. You'll notice something else different behind me, too. It's a hint as to the direction James and his friends are headed in this next chapter. Here we go. Chapter 32. And when full daylight came at last, they all got to their feet and stretched their poor cramped bodies, and then the centipede, who always seemed to see things first, shouted, "Look, there's land down below!" "He's right," they cried, running to the edge of the peach and peering over. "Hooray, hooray! It looks like streets and houses. But how enormous it all is!" A vast city, glistening in the early morning sunshine, lay spread out 3,000 feet below them. At that height, the cars were like little beetles crawling along the street. I love that description, little beetles crawling along the street. And people walking on the pavement looked no larger than tiny grains of soot. "But what tremendous tall buildings!" exclaimed the ladybug. "I've never seen anything like them before in England. What town do you think it is?" What town do you think it is? A town, a city in the United States that is a very, very, very big city. Let's see if your guess matches what Roald Dahl decided to make the setting of this chapter. This couldn't I've never seen anything like them before in England. What town could it be? This couldn't possibly be England, said the old green grasshopper. Then where is it? Asked Miss Spider. "You know what those buildings are?" shouted James, jumping up and down with excitement. "Those are skyscrapers, so this must be America. And that, my friends, means that we have crossed the Atlantic Ocean overnight." You know about the Atlantic Ocean, how it's on the opposite coast of the United States. What is our ocean? That's right, the Pacific Ocean. "You don't mean it," they cried. "It's not possible. It's incredible. It's unbelievable." "Oh, I've always dreamed of going to America," cried the centipede. "I had a friend once who—" "Be quiet," said the earthworm. "Who cares about your friend? The thing we've got to think about now is how on earth are we going to get down to Earth?" "Ask James," said the ladybug. "I don't think it should be so difficult," James told them. "All we'll have to do is cut loose a few seagulls, not too many, mind you, but just enough so that the others can't quite keep us up in the air. Then down we shall go slowly and gently until we reach the ground. Centipede will bite through the strings for us one at a time." Well, I was wrong about the setting of this chapter. The setting of this chapter is still in the sky. The setting will change in the next chapter. Chapter 33. Far below them, in the city of, did you guess it? New York. Something like pandemonium was breaking out. A great round ball as big as a house had been sighted hovering high up in the sky over the very center of Manhattan, and the cry had gone up that it was an enormous bomb sent by another country to blow the whole city to smithereens. Air raid sirens began wailing in every section. All radio and television programs were interrupted with announcements that the population must go down to their cellars immediately. 1 million people walking in the streets on their way to work looked up at the sky and saw the monster hovering above them and started running for the nearest subway entrance to take cover. It's not really a monster, is it? But boy, if I saw it in the sky, I might think so too. Generals grabbed hold of telephones and shouted orders to everyone they could think of. The mayor of New York called up the president of the United States down in Washington, D.C. to ask him for help. And the president, who at that moment was having breakfast in his pajamas, quickly pushed away his half-finished plate of sugar crisps and started pressing buttons right and left to summon his admirals and generals. And all the way across the vast stretch of America and all the 50 states, from Alaska to Florida, from Pennsylvania to Hawaii, the alarm was sounded, and the word went out that the biggest bomb in the history of the world was hovering over New York City and that at any moment it might go off. Now I can see from this illustration that Quentin Blake made that it does indeed look like a bomb or something very odd if you saw it from a distance. Certainly no one's going to think it's a peach. How could a peach be so big, right? Here are the people down below. They looked quite nervous. Look how large he made their eyes. Chapter 34. Come on, Centipede, bite through the first string, James ordered. The centipede took one of the silk strings between his teeth and bit through it, and once again, but not with an angry cloud man dangling from the other end of the string this time. A single seagull came away from the rest of the flock and went off flying on its own. Bite another, James ordered. The centipede bit through another string. Why aren't we sinking? We are sinking. We are not. Yes, we are. Don't forget the peach is a lot lighter now than it was when we started out, James told them. It's lost an awful lot of juice when all those hailstones hit it in the night. Cut away 2 more strings, Centipede. Ah, that's better. Here we go. Now we're really sinking. Yes, this is perfect. Don't bite any more, Centipede, or we'll sink too fast. Gently does it. Slowly, the great peach began losing height, and the buildings in the street below became closer and closer in view. Do you think we'll all get our pictures in the papers when we get down? The ladybug asked. My goodness, I've forgotten to polish my boots, the centipede said. Everyone must help me polish my boots before we arrive. Oh, for heaven's sake, said the earthworm. Can't you ever stop thinking about... But he never finished his sentence, for suddenly, whoosh, they looked up and saw a huge 4-engine plane coming shooting out of a nearby cloud and go whizzing past them, not more than 20 feet over their heads. This was actually the regular early morning passenger plane coming into New York from Chicago, and as it went by, it sliced right through every single one of the silken strings. Oh my gosh, they must be so worried. And immediately the seagulls broke away, and the enormous peach, having nothing to hold up in the air any longer, went tumbling down the earth like a lump of lead. Oh gosh. Help! Cried the centipede. Save us! Cried the spider. We're lost! Cried the ladybug. This is the end! Cried the old green grasshopper. James! Cried the earthworm. Do something, James! Quick, do something! I can't, cried James. I'm sorry. Goodbye. Shut your eyes, everybody. It won't be long now. I can't leave you there. Chapter 35. Round and upside down went the peach as it plummeted toward the earth, and they were all clinging desperately to the stem to save themselves from being flung out into space. Faster and faster it fell, down and down and down, racing closer and closer to the houses and to the streets below, where it would surely smash into a million pieces when it hit. And all the way along Fifth Avenue and Madison Avenue, and all along the other streets in the city, people who had not yet reached the underground shelters looked up and saw it coming. And they stopped running and they stood there in a sort of a stupor at what they thought was the biggest bomb in all the world falling out of the sky and onto their heads. A few women screamed. Others knelt down on the sidewalk and began praying aloud. Strong men turned to each other and said things like, I guess this is it, Joe. And goodbye, everybody, goodbye. And for the next 30 seconds, the whole city held its breath and waited for the end to come. That's not a hopeful chapter either. Okay, one more at least. Chapter 36. Goodbye, Ladybug, gasped James, clinging to the stem of the falling peach. Goodbye, Centipede. Goodbye, everybody. There were only a few seconds to go now, and it looked as if they were going to fall right in amongst all the tallest buildings. James could see the skyscrapers rushing up to meet them at the most awful speed, and most of them had square, flat tops. But the very tallest of them all had a top that tapered off into a long, sharp point, like an enormous silver needle sticking up into the sky. And it was precisely on top of that needle, oh, thank goodness, that the peach fell. There was a squelch. The needle went in deep, and suddenly there was a giant peach caught and spiked upon the very pinnacle of the Empire State Building. Well, friends, I look forward to seeing you for the next and last installment of James and the Giant Peach. See you next time. Bye.